off the thing strong. And Isaiah, that's what you said. You wanted to see them attack, be aggressive. We saw consecutive possessions where they scored in the paint.
Absolutely. Not only did they come out strong offensively, but we also talked about defensively what they were able to do the last game, holding Miami to 99 points in Miami. And then they followed it up with a 97 tonight. So we can talk about the offense, but really what should have Miami concerned is Boston's defense right now, because they have figured out how to play against Miami defensively. They're creating turnovers, they're getting out in transition, they're making threes, but it's really starting with their defense. Again, last two games, Miami hasn't got to 100 points yet, and that should be concerning for the Heat.
Dennis, Boston is now 4-0 in an elimination game. You said before the game that you wanted to see 50 from Jimmy Butler. I think we saw the opposite of that.
And we said
a way opposite.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little disappointed. Jimmy only put up 10 shots tonight. And when I said in the pregame show, we understand that Jimmy's a grinded out superstar. He's worked for everything he has. We know his story. But tonight, Jimmy, the Butler, playoff Jimmy, everyone's saying he's playing the best basketball, arguably in the playoffs, him, the Joker, some other guys. Well, tonight, Zeke, he let me down.
Yeah.
He let me down, Zeke. So I'm like, come on, Jimmy. You see what JT did. You see what LeBron did. You see all these different guys. You see what Steph did in the closeout game. If you're the superstar of the team, give me more than 2 shots. Give me a little bit more to say, you know what? You gave me your best effort tonight. I don't think Jimmy gave it to us tonight, Zeke.
I mean, offensively, he didn't. And the stats will say he shot 50% from the field, 5 for 10. But as you said, he needed to come out and be extremely aggressive, scoring the basketball to keep his team, where they needed to be. I mean, Bam gets up more shots than Jimmy tonight.
Right, so Bam said he had to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
And when I think he had 5 or 4 shots the night before, he comes out with 15 more aggressive.
Yeah.
When you're a star, we talked about Jimmy being a star, you have to set the table so the role players can get easier shots. You've done it all playoffs.
Yeah.
Why not tonight on the road when you can close out? And we know when you go home for game 6, everything's going to be tighter because more pressure's on you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Jimmy Butler, as you said, 5 for 10, but it's also the other statistical categories that we're used to seeing him excel in and fill up the stat sheet. When you look at the box score, he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and no block shots. Normally, we're used to seeing him fill up all of those categories. What do you think the difference was? Is it as simple as Boston turned their defense up?
100%. I mean, the last 2 games, right? They have figured out, I mean, Miami, their style of play was a little different coming into the playoffs because they passed, they moved, they cut, then they isolated, played side screen and roll. We got to give Mazzulla a lot of credit because as much as we was screaming at him when he was down 3-0, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And saying it was his fault, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. What he has successfully done is made the adjustments. After game 3, he said, look, I didn't have my team prepared and ready to play,
He
right?
claimed it.
Yep.
And he said, I got to do a better job.
Yep.
Well, these last 2 games, he has done a better job getting his team ready to play. He's made the corrections in terms of timeouts. He's made the corrections in terms of what he needs to do offensively and how his team needs to play. And therefore, they've won the last 2 games. So it's a collective effort, but let's get a coach some credit also.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, and you look at what they're doing. Tatum and Brown both had 21 points, and we like to see that Brown shows up in the sense of making himself more assertive in the offense. Dennis, were you satisfied with what you saw out of Brown?
Yes, all season long, or the last 2 years, we always try to, pull these 2 guys apart, JT and JV. Well, no, JV, go do you. You've earned where you are right now. JT's going to be fine. So block out the naysayers. You guys work well together. You've been to multiple, Eastern Conference Finals now. You've been in the finals last year. Just keep hooping. And I think tonight, our producer, Matt King, called it. He went back to hooping and stopped listening to the naysayers because JT's still going to be JT because he's that good.
Yeah.
Tonight, you reminded everybody how good you are offensively, how hard you worked on your offensive game.
And you know what I think he stopped looking at is those numbers that we were talking about. Well, he's shooting this from the field. He's shooting this from the free throw line.
Right.
I think he went back and said, you know what? I've been good all season long. I've been good the last two seasons. And confidence is everything.
Yes.
You know, when you talk about playoff basketball, it's about confidence and momentum. And who has the momentum right now in this series is the Celtics. Who has the confidence right now is the Celtics players.
Indeed. And speaking of Jaylen Brown, we're going to hear from him. He stopped after the game and chatted with Allie LaForce over on TNT. So let's watch.
Well, Jaylen, was this the well-rounded, full effort that you've been looking for? And if so, how did you find it?
Absolutely. It started on defense. We had set the intensity, and we came out and we played good basketball tonight. And it looked fun out there.
We know it's a make-or-miss league. How did the made threes rejuvenate and excite your defense as well? Because I know you said it starts with D, but it all goes around, doesn't it?
Yeah, we just got to be consistent. Tonight we were the tougher playing team. We set this on from start to finish, and we had a great team win. We hit shots, and they let us get two. So don't let us get another one.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you next. Now that you found your way, is there any stopping you?
Only thing that can stop us is us. We just got to come out and play our game, have fun, and let God do the rest.
You mentioned that Zeke confidence. It's there, and it's going to help them go into the next game. Before we talk about these threes, let's go listen in because Joe Mazzulla, head coach for the Boston Celtics, has stepped to the podium. Let's listen.
Joe, what's been the key to turning this around and getting these last two wins?
Just playing together, playing connected, physical basketball.
Joe, Derek has not had the kind of defensive series or postseason that you would expect after the season. And then tonight, it seemed like he was able to take away everything Jimmy wanted. So what is it about Derek that just makes him able to be consistent in who he is and just kind of continue to get under the opponent's skin?
He just plays with a defensive versatility, and he does a great job paying attention to detail on personnel tendencies.
Joe, how much did Marcus help set the tone with the steal right off the opening tip and the Jason Duncan, then the back-to-back threes there in the first to kind of get you guys going on a run?
Yeah, he's just an emotional key for us. You know, when he's locked in and playing both sides of the ball at a different pace, it kind of gives us our identity in our life.
Joe, is this the best performance in your view in the postseason, and what does it say that you've had probably your best two performances back-to-back games here?
It just says that our backs are against the wall and we're sticking together and we're competing at a high level to give ourselves a chance.
And what did Al give you tonight in terms of effort, intensity, particularly in the early going?
Yeah, everything he does is an intangible that you can't measure, and just his leadership and his physicality and his attention to detail defensively is big for us.
Joe, the forced turnovers tonight, you guys haven't ranked very high in those all year, even in the playoffs. What was different there that allowed you to force the amount of turnovers you did?
Just attention to detail, quality shift activity.